Hey, 5 months ago this truck didn't even start, and now we're driving it all over the ranch. Let me show you how we did that.
Howdy, and welcome to the Bar SC Ranch, where you will experience our journey of running a family business, caring for animals, and doing life together. Subscribe now and be inspired here at the Bar SC.
Hey, I'm Colton. We got this truck about 3 years ago from our neighbor. We didn't know exactly what was wrong with it. Our neighbor told us that the starter wasn't working, but obviously there's more than one thing wrong with a vehicle that doesn't run. So we had to figure out what else was wrong with it. It took me about 5 months to do that, to figure out what was wrong and to fix it. So I'll be showing you around and telling you what I had to do to fix it and what I had to replace to get this truck back onto the road. So this has been one of my projects over the past about 5 months. This is a 1991 Ford F-350 7.3 liter turbo diesel truck. And I was working on this for quite a while. The first thing that we knew was wrong, the person that we bought it from told us that the starter wasn't working, so the truck didn't even crank over. So we had to replace the starter. So we went down there, we got the starter out, we went and replaced it, and then put it back in the truck. It started cranking, so that was good. It cranked, it just wouldn't fire. So the next thing we did was we looked at the glow plugs. So diesels don't have spark plugs. They're glow plugs instead. So those are what heat up the engine block to warm it up so then you can start the engine. And then, so we checked the glow plugs with a test light. We hook it up to the battery that powers the test light, and we put it to each of the glow plugs to figure out if they're working or not. So we tested them. There was one that was burnt out. So we bought new glow plugs, we replaced that one, tried cranking it over, didn't work. We noticed a leak in the fuel filter assembly, so we had to take that apart and replace O-rings. We replaced the fuel filter as well. While we were doing that, we put it back in, and then we bled the fuel injectors. We bled the fuel injectors until fuel started coming out, closed them back up, cranked it over, still didn't start. So we hooked up a test light to the battery to test the glow plugs, to see if they were working. We had to replace one. We tried to turn over the engine. It still didn't fire, so we replaced all of them. We replaced all the glow plugs, and we tried to turn it over. Still nothing. Then we went back and figured out what powered the glow plugs, and that was the glow plug relay. And on this truck, it's located behind the air filter. And there's a computer down there that latches the relay to heat up the glow plugs, and that wasn't working properly, so it wasn't latching. So we took out the computer, and I wired in a toggle switch to the dash so I can turn on the glow plugs and turn them off whenever I want to, and there's a little light there to indicate that they're on or that they're off. So I did that, and I flipped the toggle switch on, warmed up the glow plugs, turned it off, cranked it. It was getting so close I had to do it one more time, and then it finally fired. But this wasn't it hadn't run in 3 years, so it's going to take a little bit of time for it to start right when you've turned on the glow plug. So I tried it a couple times, and then it finally fired. Had to fill it up with some more fuel, but yeah, then it ran. It turned over, and it was I guess running fine. It just wouldn't move. So when I tried pushing down on the accelerator in drive, it wouldn't go anywhere. I went up to maybe 2,500 RPM or 2,500 RPM trying to get it out of the barn, and I got not very far. I just thought, no, there's something wrong with this. This can't be right. So I backed it back up into the barn. Then I looked it up, trying to figure out why this truck wasn't moving, or at least not moving very well. And we figured out that there was no transmission fluid. So we had to replace there was no transmission fluid in the truck. So we had to fill it up, and I've been watching to figure out where the leak is. And after I filled it up with the transmission fluid, it started driving just fine. Drove it down the road to the mailbox, and it was doing fine. Drove it out to the shooting range. And then I came back one day, and there was some leakage under the truck, under the transmission. So on the transmission pan, there was, it was leaking out of the seal and then out of the transfer case as well. So I'm going to have to tear that apart and get a new seal for those, and then hopefully I'll be able to save the transmission fluid and just put it back in. Alright, so right now I'm going to take you on a little tour of the truck and show you what things are. So we'll start with the, this is the fuel filter assembly, so we'll start with this. This is what was leaking. So right here, you see, I'm going to pull this guy off, and right here, this stem right here, around the base of the stem was leaking fuel. So I went in here and I took off this whole top assembly part. So I took off the fuel line on this side and on that side, and take off all these wires, pull this thing out, take out these 2 bolts, take the fuel filter off of the assembly on top. I had to get in from the inside, pull this stem out, and replace the O-rings. So that was a long process, but yeah, I got it done, so that was good. And I had to take it apart actually a couple of times just to figure out what was wrong. So it was great when I started to crank it and it didn't come out. That was a very happy moment for me. And then we bled the injectors. So the fuel injectors are down here. So if you can see, this is the whole throttle body down here. This is fed by this line coming down. This line here, this is the fuel line that comes down and into the throttle body and gets distributed to each of the fuel injectors. So this is the throttle. When you push down on the throttle, this will come up, letting fuel into the cylinders. So this is your throttle cable right here, and when you push down, it comes up. So that lets out the fuel through all of these lines here. There are 8 of them. So this is an 8-cylinder engine, and there are 8 fuel injectors, and then 8 glow plugs to warm up each cylinder. And so each cylinder has its own injector and glow plug. So these are the glow plugs down here, and I had to replace all 8 of those. And then after I replaced those, I had to come over here. So back behind, this is where the air filter was. So this is the base of the air filter. This is where the air goes into the engine block. And then behind this, right here, is the relay. So there was a computer underneath it that was wired into the relay. And I took that out, and then these 2 wires here are both positive and negative, going to the dash, so I can turn them on and turn them off. So yeah, this goes out this line here, these cables, and gets distributed to each glow plug. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned a little bit about trucks and how they work. I'm excited to see you out here and hopefully tinker around with you a little bit.
If you enjoyed this video, we'd love to hear from you. Like and subscribe, and leave us a comment about what you'd like to see in future episodes. We'll see ya back on the ranch.